Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. In this video, we are continuing with our NCERT series and we will study part 1 of chapter 6 of our class 6th NCERT named as Our Past 1. And the name of the chapter is Kingdoms, Kings and Early Republic. So this is part 1 of chapter 6 and in this video, we will study about the age of Mahajanapadas. As well as we will also study about the Varna system. So if you talk about the rise of powerful Rajas, so basically choosing leaders or rulers by voting is something that has become common during the last 50 years. And how did men become rulers in the past? Today we can see that our leaders are elected through voting. But in the past, the Rajas were probably chosen by Jana. And Jana were known as people. And around 3000 years ago, we find some changes taking place. New methods of choosing Rajas emerged and the power started shifting from community approval to religious authority, rituals and displays of strength. So this marks the beginning of a dramatic transformation in early Indian political life. One such ways in which a man could become a powerful Raja was through the Ashwamedha or the horse sacrifice. So in this sacrifice, a horse was set free to roam wherever it wished, guarded by the Raja's soldiers. And if the horse wandered into another kingdom, the local ruler faced two choices. Stop the horse and go to the war, or let it pass and accept the authority of the performing Raja. So when the sacrifice finally took place, priests conducted long and elaborate rituals. Other Rajas attended as spectators, offering gifts in recognition of the main Raja's power. The ruler sat on a throne, his charioteer praised his bravery, and his family performed smaller rituals. But some groups, especially those considered Shudras, were excluded. This shows early forms of social discrimination. Now let's talk about the rise of the Varna system. And in the Varna system, society gets structured. So during this period, during the period of Mahajanapadas, we can see the society was also changing. The later Vedic texts like Samved, Yajurved, Atharvaved, these texts record detailed rules about rituals and how society should be organized. So that time, priests divided people into 4 Varnas. At the top were the Brahmins, who were responsible for studying and teaching the Vedas. Next were the Kshatriyas, who were the rulers and the warriors who protected the kingdom. The third were the Vaishyas, who were the farmers, traders and herders who produced wealth. At the bottom were the Shudras, who served the others and were denied education and rituals. Both women and Shudras were not allowed to study the Vedas, and women were also sometimes grouped with the Shudras. So over the period of time, priests declared that Varna was determined by birth. For example, if one's father and mother were Brahmins, one would automatically become a Brahmin. And this rigid Varna system also later led to untouchability. So who were considered as untouchables? These were craft persons, hunters and gatherers, as well as people who helped perform burials and cremations. The priest said that the contact with these groups was polluting. However, many people rejected this Varna system. So there was resistance to the Varna system as well. Many people did not accept the system of Varna, which was laid down by the Brahmins. Some kings claimed to be superior to Brahmins. Others argued that birth should not determine status. And many regions, especially the northeast, did not follow the Varna system at all. So the upper 3 Varnas, Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas were considered as twice born groups, whereas Shudras and untouchables were not considered twice born groups. Now let's talk about Janapadas. So the Janapadas were the first settled kingdoms. The Rajas who used to perform big sacrifices now ruled over territories called Janapadas. These were some of the earliest political regions of ancient India. Archaeological sites like Purana Kila in Delhi, Hastinapur near Meerut and Atranjikhera near Etah reveal the kinds of lives people lived. So they built huts, kept cattle and grew crops like rice, wheat, barley, pulses, sugarcane, etc. They created pottery as well. They made earthen pots and these were redware, greyware and a special type called painted greyware. These were decorated with geometric designs. So these settlements show how early farming communities gradually grew into organized kingdoms. This you can see the image of a painted greyware. So the most common vessels that were made out of painted greyware were plates and bowls. So these are extremely fine to touch and had a very nice and smooth surface. And these were used on special occasions for important people and to serve special food. So these were the Janpadas, who were the first settled kingdoms. Now let's talk about Mahajanpadas. Mahajanpadas were the large kingdoms and fortified capitals. So these were the powerful kingdoms. So around 2500 years ago, some Janpadas expanded into powerful Mahajanpadas. And these kingdoms built large fortified capital cities with walls made of wood, stone or brick. These forts protected them from attacks, but they also showed off the rulers' wealth and power. Building such huge walls needed lakhs of bricks and enormous amount of labor. So thousands of workers, especially men, women and children, contributed to this work. So this is an image of the fortification wall at Kaushambi. And this is a picture of the remains of a wall which is made of bricks. And this is found near present-day Allahabad in Uttar Pradesh. So there were around 16 Mahajanpadas. And in this map, you can locate them. So the Mahajanpadas also began maintaining permanent armies as well. Soldiers were paid salaries, often with punch mark coins. So the punch mark coins we can see are the earliest example of coins in ancient India. So this marked the beginning of a more professional, centralized system of governance. So with forts to maintain and armies to pay, rulers needed a steady supply of resources. So unlike earlier times when people brought occasional gifts, now taxes became regular and systematic. Farmers gave 1/6 of their produce as tax, and this is known as bhaga. And craftspeople might work one day every month for the king. Herders paid in the form of animals and animal produce. Traders paid taxes on goods they bought and sold. Even hunters and the gatherers often had to provide forest produce to the Raja. And there were taxes on crops as well, which were the most important. So this new tax system indicates how kingdoms were becoming stronger, richer and more organized. So now let's talk about the changes in agriculture. So there were two major changes in agriculture around this time. One was the growing use of iron plowshares. This meant that now iron turned heavy clay soils much better than the wooden plows. This helped farmers produce more grains. And the second major change was the introduction of paddy transplantation. Instead of scattering seeds, farmers first grew saplings and then transplanted them into the fields. This method increased yield, but it required extremely hard labor. And many of those who performed this tiring work were dasas and dasis, who were slave men and women, and landless laborers known as kamakaras. So together, all these developments, like rituals like Ashwamedh, the rise of Varnas, formation of Janpadas and Mahajanpadas, introduction of taxes, and advances in agriculture, all these developments reshaped ancient Indian society during the time of Mahajanpadas. This time, leadership shifted from small tribal groups to powerful kings with armies and structured governments. Also, social divisions grew sharper, economies expanded, and political boundaries became clearer. So this period of Mahajanpadas laid the foundation for the great kingdoms and empires that would rise later in Indian history. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more historical videos.